Hello. Thank you again for joining me today, wherever you're tuning in from. A common question that I get asked is, how do I stay consistent with my goals, even when my motivation fades? Do you ever wonder, why you start a goal feeling really unstoppable and inspired and empowered? Maybe you watched a real motivational video, you get started, but then a few weeks later, you start to lose steam, you start to lose interest, you just can't, motivate yourself anymore. And maybe it's related to business, you're setting bold business goals or revenue targets or something to do with your health and well-being. And then when the motivation fades, your consistency just goes up and down like a yo-yo. If you're feeling great, you're sticking to the habit, but if you're not, then you fall off the wagon. So this is so common. So many people I speak to, struggle with this. In today's video, I'm really going to help you break free from this motivation trap so that you can actually build unstoppable momentum and stay consistent no matter what happens. Because the truth is, motivation is kind of like an emotional fuel. It's really high at the start when emotions are running high, but they fade over time. And relying on motivation, I believe, is a fallacy because it only really works when you feel good, when you feel ready, which is a trap, right? Real success, real consistency and momentum comes from systems, comes from discipline, comes from really a strong driving why, right? And the truth is, you don't, I think it's a quote from James Clear, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And consistency, I believe, starts with who you believe you are. You're always going to act in accordance with who you believe yourself to be. If you see yourself as someone who always follows through, who always honors the promises that they make to themselves, then your actions will ultimately align with your identity. Because your identity influences the thoughts that you have on a moment-by-moment basis, which influences your emotions, which influences the actions that you take. So the goal isn't just to get fit, for instance. It's to become the kind of person who never skips a workout, who always prioritizes their diet and nutrition, who wakes up at the same time, who trains at the same time every day. So the best place for you to start is to anchor your goals to your identity. Ask yourself a question like, what kind of person achieves this goal? What kind of person would I need to be? What habits would they have? One of my clients right now is an author, and instead of saying something like, I want to write a book, I've encouraged her to create an identity statement that goes along the lines of, I'm a committed, disciplined, creative writer who works on her craft daily. So this is really important. You're just focusing on these micro habits that you're building, these small, repeatable actions, not giant, seemingly insurmountable leaps. For instance, if I can't commit to an hour at the gym, I'll start with doing 10 push-ups. Instead of writing a whole book, I'll start with 500 words today. A best way to actually keep track of what you're doing is to track your progress visibly using something like a habit tracker, which is what I share with all of my clients, getting an accountability partner, which is where a coach comes in handy to have someone keep you accountable to stay on track, and also to support you in handling the situation when you don't feel like it. This is where this whole notion of discipline comes into play, where you choose what you want to do in the long term over what you're feeling in the moment. When you're able to prioritize yourself and have established this really strong foundation of self-love and self-respect and self-discipline, regardless of how you're feeling, you're always going to feel inclined to show up for yourself because of the promise that you've made to yourself. And if you're feeling stuck, just start with something small and achievable, like taking yourself out for a 5-minute walk, drafting a single sentence, sending an email. And as you build these micro habits and you show to your brain that you're able of executing on what you say that you'll execute, you're building and strengthening that foundation of trust with yourself, right? And over time that compounds and supports you in building this really great consistency, stacking winning days into winning weeks, into winning months. And by the time you know it, you've built this really strong habit at a subconscious level where you don't have to think about forcing yourself or willing yourself to show up each day. It's just part of your routine. It's like brushing your teeth. So I hope that's helpful for you. You know, if you're someone who's struggling with staying consistent, you're not alone, right? This is just a common challenge that many of us face. But the good news is you can break out of this, motivation trap and build a really strong, meaningful relationship with yourself, grounded in self-love, which supports you and inspires you to show up as your best self and to build unstoppable momentum day in, day out. If you found it useful, please share it with someone, who might be struggling with consistency. Drop a comment. What is a habit that you really want to build and establish and commit to for 2025? What does that look like for you? And who can you talk to and bring on board as an accountability partner so that you can ensure that, that both of you stay on track to reach your goals. So thank you so much. You absolutely can stay consistent. It starts with building a strong foundation of self-love and self-respect, and just starting with small achievable habits. So what's something that you can start with today? Have a beautiful day or night ahead.